Today he is the longest serving Great Britain captain. He's also the current England, Lancashire and Wigan skipper. But Andrew Farrell's first taste of rugby league came 17 years ago.
It was 1985 and it was at Central Park. Graham West had organised a summer school. At the time, Wigan were just starting to be a successful club. It was after the Wigan Hull Challenge Cup final, so there was a lot of interest in the town from youngsters wanting to play. So Graham organised a summer school and I was invited to be one of the coaches.
A summer school come up and I think my mum wanted me to stay off the streets and sent me to Graham West Summer School, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And the coach who took me at the Graham West Summer School was Aidan Walker, and he had a team up at Orrell St James's and he wanted me to be a player for his team.
I was at the time trying to set up an under-11s team. Andrew was in my group. I can remember him very, very clearly. He had a bright orange Blackpool FC top on because he played football at that time. He was a good player, even though he'd never played rugby league before. It was obvious he had a little bit of talent.
I didn't want to go to the first place because I was into my football too much, but yeah, he persuaded me to come down 3 or 4 times to go up there and never looked back since.
Eventually his dad persuaded him to come down, I think, and he played his first game for Orrell St James's, and it was against local rivals. It was a pre-season friendly. It was Wigan St Jude's. I think he scored a try and kicked something like 4 or 5 goals, and I think he was hooked on the game after that.
Our coach Aidan Walker was always watching Wigan's training and how professional they was, so we was always brought up to look after ourselves diet-wise and do extra training, this, that and the other, and it was just a natural progression for me to do that, and I didn't at any stage really think you know, I'm going to make it rugby league and this, that and the other. It was just something that I did to first of all keep my place at Orrell St James's and then progress to get picked town team level, Lancashire county level, and then obviously England schools, which was a big thing then.
He was playing for Wigan town team, and at that time for about 14 years old, for a kid to be interested in a professional club was sort of pretty much unheard of. But there's a lot of pressure on, you know, people coming down to him and saying Wigan are here today, Leeds are here today, Bradford are here today, etc, etc. And he played in a Wigan town team match at Knowsley Road, and he was a year younger than all the rest of them, and obviously all the scouts were there and vying for his services that day, and he had a really good game. And as he was coming off, you could see the scouts running out of the stands to try and have a word with him.
I remember that in them days reading the local papers like the Wigan Reporter. I think he played at Orrell St James, and you know, he was scoring 3 and 4 tries a week and kicking 10 goals, and it was only a matter of time before he turned up at Central Park.
The first time Andy Farrell ever walked into the Wigan boardroom was when he came in with his father, just ready to leave school. And his father Peter walked in, and he was about 6'3" and a giant of a man. And he was bringing his son to talk to us about a possible career with Wigan Rugby League. And in walked this giant behind his father, towering over his father. And I just thought, gee, if he can play rugby league as impressively as he looks as an athlete now, we've got a champion on our hands.
He was in the boardroom at Wigan, and we're all sat around this massive table, very daunting. And I think Andrew would have signed for a lollipop that day.
It was obviously daunting for me to go down to Wigan, but it helped me so much as a 14-year-old to be able to go to training and train with the likes of Ellery and Dean Bell and Phil Clark and Dennis Betts and Andy Platt. It brought a youngster on so much, because even though Wigan had just turned full-time professional then, we still trained on a Tuesday and Thursday night, so the whole club, the academy, which was the under-19s then, and the A team and the first team all trained together.
He was one of those people that was just after knowledge. He was just sucking up everybody's ideas and wanting to learn with everybody. He was hanging around all the senior players and wanting to train with all the players that were good trainers, like Phil Clark and Andy Platt and Dean Bell and myself. He wanted to train with those kind of players, and we wanted him to train with us. Like, he had loads of ability and loads of talent and a willingness to put himself out.
I think there were so many talented players used to come into the dressing rooms at Wigan. A lot of them were being signed, a lot of them were being introduced to the club. Andy was one of those, really, and I suppose the fact that when one guy came in, he was so much bigger than all the rest, that's what made the difference, and you think, wow, who's this guy?
He was big and brash and full of confidence, and he could back that up. He was a fantastic 16-year-old. He was 6'3", and he was a lot heavier than he is now. I don't think they've ever seen any pictures of him, but he had this big, round, fat baby face on top of this body that looked like it didn't belong there.
Andrew actually didn't really play academy football. He went straight into the Alliance team with Graham West, who really looked after him.
I used to go into the gym at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, Thursday and a Friday, and him and Mick Cassidy used to be there regular. They were going to make it right or wrong. You know, they worked very hard in the gym, and they'd work very hard and be regular trainers in our training sessions.
He realised that if he wanted to get anywhere in this game, that he had to work hard. And Andy Farrell has been one of the hardest working players I've ever met.
I know some of the older players like Kelvin and Neil and Martin all really had lots of respect for him, and a great idol of his was Frano Botica, and I often overheard Frano and Inga and you know, a couple of the other legends really being inspired in the way he trained and the way he carried himself. I left school and I took up an apprenticeship with the Wigan Metro as a joiner, and there was very good fun years, and even though I was still training with Wigan, I used to go in at 7 o'clock in the morning with Frano and Sam Panapa, and we used to train before I went to work. They was good enough to come in early and get their weights done early, and I used to go to work. Then I used to come back in at 4:30, 5 o'clock for the evening training, so there was long days, but I did my 3 years apprenticeship and I made sure I did that, and then obviously I was a first team player in the last year of my apprenticeship, so I decided to throw the tools away and hopefully never pick them up again.
The 17-year-old intends to keep his feet firmly on the ground by learning his trade as a joiner with Wigan Council.
I've got an apprenticeship at the moment, and I'm in my second year of the apprenticeship, and I've only 1 year left then, so I might as well carry on what I'm doing, and if the rugby does come off, I can always go back to this.
I'm pleased that I did that, and obviously put something at the back of me if the rugby league wasn't successful, because I didn't know in those days.
We were at a match in, I think it was Wakefield, and John Morner came to us, sat near us in the stand and said, I'm thinking of putting Andy in next week, what do you think? And obviously I was over the moon.
Well, as they say in the classics, it was a no-brainer. I didn't have to think too hard about it. Andy Farrell was always going to be a great Wigan player, and you know, and sort of looking back now, he's had 10 seasons at the top. It's been great for him.
He had a lot of things thrown at him, a lot of pressures, a lot of fame too, and I think a lot of professional sports people have come through the system and really haven't handled the fame and everything that goes with it. But with Andy having the family at such a young age, I've certainly no doubts that it aided his development.
His wife, Colleen, he got pregnant very young, and that kind of probably matured him a lot quicker than a lot of lads he was older than him at the time. And you know, I'm sure to this day he'll say that was a big factor in his career, that, you know, starting a family very young and kept him on the straight and narrow. And you know, like I said, he just kind of matured from a kid to a father to a great player.
I wanted to do the best I could for Colleen and Owen as well, so I had a responsibility, and I stuck hard to it, the training and things like that, and once I got a sniff of the first team, I thought this is a good career for me, and try better and try harder, and you know, I've never looked back since.
Andy was trying to break into an outstanding Wigan side. He would have to be patient though.
We were very strong at the top, and there were great people there. There were great role models for Andy, guys like Dean Bell, Martin O'Fire, Botica, Skerritt, Platt, Betts, you know, and the list goes on. So it was a great schooling for them to be able to come up, have a few first team games, and then drop back to the A team. And you know, as I said, he spent a season doing that, and but as soon as he ran on, you know, he always looked like a first grade player.
I never ever stepped foot in the Wigan dressing room for, I must have played Wigan first team for a year, and never ever stepped foot in the first team dressing room, because the players were so good, and the team was so good then, that everybody was set in stone really, that they all had their own pegs, and if you sat there in somebody else's place, they told you to get lost. So I always stayed with my mates in the 18 dressing room, and I think I would have been 17, I think, after I played for the first team for a year. Finally decided to move my peg and go in the first team dressing room. If I look back and try to pinpoint any game that would have brought my career on to say I was a first team player, was probably that game. A youngster being thrown in, I think I was on the substitutes bench to start off with, and I got brought on pretty early, which was a plus for me. But there was 28,000, I think, watching that game at Central Park, and Gary Connor was playing.
I remember Andrew playing. I think he was about 19 stone then, and I think he got the man of the match. He come off the bench and won man of the match. And one of my memories of Andrew was when he broke through, and I somehow managed to get back and try and stop him, and I did stop him, but he ran over all the top of me.
I think he got caught on my studs,
and he's left me scars on my leg till this day.
He still ruins me for that.
He was on the bench and he come on for me. I went off and he come on, and I think as soon as he touched the ball, he made a break of about 50 metres, and he really upped the game for Wigan that day. A young lad that's, he put a bit of extra spark in the game.
To get the man of the match in such a derby like Wigan and St Helens really was the pinpoint, really, to say this lad probably could make it in as a first team player.
A first senior try continued a memorable year and forced coach and country to take notice. Farrell try! That's great reward for the young 17-year-old.
The passion was there at an early age, and if I remember rightly, I think I dropped an international player for him to sit on the bench when we played at Wembley, and it would have been a great experience for somebody at that age to come in and run out in front of all those people at Wembley.
John Morney put me in a room with Dean Bell to look after me, and obviously try and settle my nerves before the game, but as a cocky 17-year-old, I didn't tend to have that many nerves then, and Dean wasn't that settling for me neither.
The reality was that I was the one that needed calming down, because the morning of the game, I'm bringing up my breakfast in the hotel room. Andy's sitting there as calm as anything, headphones on, saying, "Dean, we can waste these guys today."
Andy came into the game, and I think we were ahead 20-14. And the main thing about his game on that day was that he didn't make any mistakes, and we really had a great team then. And all he had to do really was do his little bit, and he certainly didn't let the team down.
I know after the game I met his dad outside the ground, and he'd already given his dad his medal, and we were both stood there looking at his winner's medal. That was a memory I would cherish.
It's Andy Farrell with the cup there. He might have been a substitute, but he was up there to get his medal about 4.
I remember the trophy getting brought into school when I was about 9-10 years of age, and I was in awe of the trophy then. But to actually walk up the steps and lift the cup up was something special, and obviously at that moment in time I thought I'd made it a bit.
12 months later, Andrew had scored at Wembley as Wigan retained their league title and Challenge Cup. By then, though, he was playing for another team alongside most of his Wigan colleagues.
I think he managed to adjust to the full Great Britain side quite easily because of the guys that he played with at Wigan. He was surrounded by a lot of those when he moved up into the Great Britain side, but it was a dramatic transformation from, I think, the junior GB sides, all of a sudden to find himself in that third test against New Zealand back in 1993 in the back row playing against the Kiwis. And I think the fact that he had some of his similar teammates around him probably helped him, but it's a massive step up to play at the international level, and yet again he just showed how easy he could cope with that.
Andy Farrell's rise to the full international side has been as rapid and as unstoppable as one of his barnstorming runs for Wigan.
Tackles being missed, Panapa with the run, Farrell try!
18-year-old Andy Farrell will make his debut for Great Britain on Saturday, partnering Chris Joynt in the second row. He only made his Wigan debut last season, but with the aid of his 6'4", 17-stone frame, he's established himself as a powerful performer. He captained the successful Great Britain Academy side. Now he's ready for the big time.
It's something he deserved. It's nothing special for me to, and I'd be a fool if I didn't select someone, with his at the time with his potential and ability.
I think it was a reward for me from Malcolm by playing very well. in the academy level and then at the under-21s, and I suppose he had the luxury of trying out a youngster at first team level with the series already wrapped up.
I think we beat New Zealand by a record margin, and of course that was Andy's first international game, and I believe he scored the first try. Fantastic. I know it was the left-hand side of the ground, near the top where the south stand is there, and he was ecstatic. Why wouldn't you be, scoring a try for Great Britain at such an early age?
The New Zealanders just had no answer to our boys' tactics, which included one powerhouse called Andy Farrell. Nobody could deny young Farrell's debut day of glory. A pass with flying colours. Yes, our new boy really did do the Andy job and clean up the Kiwis in a very big way.
3 domestic finals, a test debut at 18. The 1994 Young Player of the Year was an automatic choice.
It's a dream come true. I set a goal at the beginning of the season to gain an under-21s cap, and I started off with a Great Britain Academy, and then I got my under-21s cap, and then to cap it all off, a full international against the Kiwis was unbelievable.
The Young Player Award capped an outstanding season for player and club, but Wigan were to eclipse even that on one memorable night in Brisbane.
Playing Brisbane, obviously the big team, we had to travel out to Australia. Everybody had written us off. The the Australian media just thought we're just going to get whooped.
We had a look at a bit of the Brisbane video, and I said, well look, the whole year you've gone out and given your best. There's not much really I can say. Let's go and do the job. And everybody sort of looked, and then went out of the room quite determined to go out and give a good performance, and that's exactly what they did.
The lads got together and thought, right, we will give it our best shot. Went out there, and we just we got stuck into it.
To get off to a good start there, obviously give us the belief that we could go on to win the game, and it's probably the biggest win in the club's history. Yeah.
This is Mather stepping through. He's got support with Mark Sophia. He moves away from Sophia and scores himself. Levinson picked up the dredge. He heads off to the line. Sailor to beat. Does that and puts it down. They beat Manly in 87. They beat Penrith in 91. And they defeat Brisbane here tonight.
Something that just glows and when everybody talks about it, and part of this club's history, to go over to Brisbane and to beat Brisbane, who gave us quite a good hide in the year before in the World Club Challenge, with a side that was decimated, full of young players such as Andy, and it was a great night.
Andy and Wigan continued to flourish. Graham West's team completed the domestic Grand Slam in 1995, and Farrell retained the Young Player of the Year award. Fittingly, the British Games' most successful club would also lift the Centenary Championship the following year, after Andy had experienced his first World Cup with England. Era ended with Challenge Cup defeat at Salford as the Super League began under a new Wigan captain.
We had to look at making another captain, and Andy was really the prime person. I'd had Phil Clark in the A-team before that, and Phil Clark had taken a part of playing the captain in the first team, and Andy had been the captain of the A-team and led very well, and he was really the natural progressor to the first team.
Obviously I wanted to be captain of Wigan, but never made it a goal of mine to be captain of Wigan, and never made it a goal to be captain of Royal St James's or the Wigan A team, which happened as well.
I considered him the best candidate for the job, and he just took it over straight away, no hesitation whatsoever.
It's just the way that I played the game. I always was very talkative on the field, and always tried to play the game, every single game that I play still to this day, as hard and as first as I possibly can. So obviously coaches have seen that in me, and probably a natural progression would be captain.
The 1996 Premiership triumph was Andy's first major trophy as captain, and it ensured that Wigan wouldn't end the first summer season empty-handed. His leadership didn't go unnoticed.
This year's Man of Steel is a former winner of the Young Player of the Year award. He's one of only 3 men ever to have retained that title. He hasn't missed a match for his club throughout this first Super League season. In 1993, he became the youngest man ever to collect a Challenge Cup winners' medal when he appeared in the final as a substitute. At 18 years and 5 months, he became the youngest forward ever to play for Great Britain. This year, he became the youngest ever captain of his country when he led England in the European Championship. And this autumn will become the youngest ever tour captain in history when he leads the British Lions down under. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't guessed, the man who is this year's Man of Steel of 1996 is the England, Great Britain and Wigan captain, Andy Farrell.
At Great Britain level, the coaches obviously look around who's leaders at the clubs, and probably at that time I was playing very well, but still a youngster to be able to be named Great Britain captain. So to be named Great Britain captain at 21, I think I was unbelievable. And as I said, it's the highest thing in rugby league in my eyes, because as a youngster, when you first sign for Wigan, you never dream of playing for Great Britain. Obviously, as the years go on, that's your aim to play for Great Britain, but to get captain of your country is, in my eyes, there's nothing better than that.
He's the serious man. He's the link to the coaches, and you know, if we have any problems, he's the one we'll go to.
I think he's approachable, and he's level-headed. He's always looking to improve himself as a player, listening for advice, picking bits up from anywhere that's available, and he's a great leader.
I think Phil Clark had captained Great Britain before me though, and Dennis Betts would have been the natural progression to come through and captain Great Britain. Dennis was playing over in Auckland at the time, so I think Dennis would have been a little bit shocked for me to get captain in front of him, really, but you would never have thought that, because the way that he was and the support that he gave me and the help that he gave me as well was second to none. And I want to be able to do that kind of thing, captain Great Britain at senior level without people like Dennis behind me.
It was great to work with him, and we bounced off each other, and I wholly supported everything that happened, and I think that tour was a great learning curve for him as a captain, and he led from the front. He was one of the best players on the tour, and he's gone from strength to strength. I think his great assets have been that his leadership skills have never waned under all the criticism and all the stuff that he's taken about Great Britain not winning test matches or winning series. Andy Farrell has been a constant. He's performed and worked hard at being the player that he's always wanted to be.
At the age of 22, Farrell has been handed the task of leading his country in the Ashes series. But having captained the Lions down under last winter and led Wigan, he's no stranger to the pressures of the job.
Time for Britain to spark. Time for Britain to square this Test series.
For Phil Clark, 94 would have been, against Brisbane Broncos, would have been the highlight of his career, and still a big thing for me to beat Brisbane at Brisbane. But for me personally, to win any Australian team, never mind the national team, the Australian team was a massive achievement. But for me to be captain as well at Old Trafford, probably the best ground to play at, with great atmosphere, and to beat the Aussies, to keep the series alive. Obviously it was the second test, so to keep the series alive was extra pressure.
And Farrell takes it on! Farrell stepping! Oh, magnificent try!
And he scored a great try, and real world-class try. And you know, because we took a bit of a flogging the week before at Wembley. Laurie Daly, I think, scored that trick, and he played standoff against Andrew. So for him to come back the week after strong, score a try and get a man at match, you know, just showed the character they showed. There was a great vocal atmosphere, and I remember him walking around the stadium with the Great Britain flag wrapped around him, you know, and I could just see how much pride it meant to him.
Great Britain have won a famous victory! Magnificent display from Andrew Farrell and the British boys.
For me to play well and get the man of the match in that game is probably the best game that I would pick out in my career so far.
Well, if Old Trafford in '97 was Andy's greatest memory, Wembley in '98 has to be one of his worst.
Everybody always says is that it's the cup final that Wigan lost, and you know, but that's total discredit to Sheffield, because the way that they played, obviously, as Wigan players, we was expected to win, and we was expecting ourselves to win, and we didn't expect to just turn up and take the game and take the trophy home. We always knew that was going to be a very hard game, but the tactics that John Keir and his men had that day was they must have played their game to perfection, absolute perfection. I think John had said that to this day, that their ball control and the pressure that they put on us, and just totally dominated the game and stopped us from playing. It just shows in any sport that that's what can happen if a team clicks and does what the coach tells them, and that's definitely what Sheffield is.
He's the type of bloke that if something does go badly, he'll just redouble his efforts to make sure that next time it won't happen.
Our first game after the Challenge Cup was to play Sheffield away at Sheffield, and the way that we approached that game was, I've never played in a team that has been as determined to win a game, and we absolutely smashed Sheffield away, which put us on a good road. And obviously there was only one other trophy to play for, and that was the first grand final.
They'd had that horror show in the Challenge Cup final, and there was a lot of pressure on. A lot of teams were thinking that Wigan weren't the force that they used to be. A lot of pundits were saying that Wigan were a spent force, and it were looking like it were going round in cycles, and it were another team's turn.
Are the champions of 1998.
There's nothing better than winning a grand final, because you're the best team of that season, and you know everything that you put into a season. There's so many emotions and disappointments and highs go into a season, and for it to all come down to one final day, and you're either winning it or you're losing it, is that's why it's so special, the grand final day.
All that pressure, and of course Faz, being a Wigan lad, would have got the external pressure of friends, family, people that live around him, and he carried that all on his shoulders, and you know, I think it was a big relief for him when he finally lifted that trophy.
You know, just as you come into the stadium here, you see a big picture of Andy getting the Super League trophy, and certainly still sends a tingle down our spines every time we see it.
It was everything that everybody expected a grand final to be, which was tough, hard, very close game, intimidating. You know, some outstanding performances. Jason Robinson sticks out in my mind.
For me, it was special. I scored the try, and then and they kicked a few kicks, which which won the game. So certainly so many memories, not just these games, but throughout the years of games where Andy's probably won the game single-handedly.
I personally had to be aware of him all the time. I knew what a talent he was, and I mean, he surpassed me, myself, as an individual player. I mean, he's got so many facets to his game. His kicking game's enormous. That's one of the areas we had to watch when he came to Headingley and played against us, or when we went up there to play against Wigan.
Manly in '87 was one of the great nights at Central Park. Ellery, as St Helens coach, would also face Wigan in the last ever game there. But the night that Manly turned up is a special Farrell memory.
The game was kicked off at 7:30, and I was on the front wall at 4 o'clock waiting for the game, and the atmosphere was unbelievable. And my dad used to always tell me about the atmospheres that used to be at Central Park with 40,000-50,000 on. But I'd never seen it like that, 37,000, and that was probably the best atmosphere that I've ever been at a rugby league match.
I remember going there when I was 10 years old and watching games with my auntie and my granddad. I remember going to one game with 47,000 on. I went with my granddad. I went to the toilet at half time. I couldn't get back on the ground.
As a youngster, I used to drive past, going up to my grandma's house, and my dad always said, "There's heaven." You know, that's what it was to Wigan people. It was heaven, and Central Park was, and it always will be.
Being Wiganers and going there and watching the matches, and then to be involved in the last one of all time, it was emotional.
The local Wigan lads asked Andy Goodway, could we have a meeting to the rest of the lads from Yorkshire and the rest of the lads from Australia, wherever. And we stressed just how important this game was, and there was some tears in that meeting during the week because of how much it meant to the players in general.
There was a tremendous lot of pressure on the players because if you think about the illustrious, almost unbelievable history of rugby league at Central Park, to have to leave it with the defeat against the old enemy St Helens would have been unbearable.
I know that players like Andy and myself, because we'd been there for so long, the feeling that we had of being at Central Park and all the history there, and to think that it was the last game, you know, really put a lump in your throat, and to be playing the arch rival St Helens, I just knew. I turned up that day, Andy knew as well. We turned up that day and we knew he was going to win.
If the old ways must go, let's put on one last good show. It's the last chance to end our old ways. If the new days must come, don't just get up and run. It's the last chance to end our old ways. I'm getting ready.
Robinson's at it again. He'll score. Farewell, Central Park. And Wigan say goodbye with a tear and with a victory over St Helens.
Now everyone puts pen to novel now about Central Park, and the end with the great victory against St Helens in the final game. Poignant, typical of the Wigan club, and a fitting end to Central Park and its history, and a fitting tribute to Andy Farrell, able to lead the side that day.
You know, thank God that we won that game, because we wouldn't have been able to go down Wigan again. But the relief when that final whistle went was something very special. As I said, just the relief, the pressure was like 100 kg off your back.
That game was so emotional, so draining, so hard, and it took so much out of this club. To go out on a high was such a massive release.
To go back out and see the people leaving the ground, and to see the people sat there on the terraces crying their eyes out and trying to get a bit of the turf and taking the seat home with them that's been a part of their lives for 20 years with a season ticket that's been there, and the same spot for 20 years, and seeing these people cry. Can you imagine losing that?
To be the person that would have left Central Park, losing to St Helens on the last day that the great ground was put to rest, would have been something that it would have been hard for him to carry.
People was taking the turf, and players took turf, and took all kinds of strange and weird things, but the biggest thing for me was to take my coat peg in the dressing room, probably because I'd worked so hard to get it in the first place, and wanting to have that first team coat peg was something special when I actually got it. So to have it for 6 or 7 years while I played at Central Park, it was coming with me. Yeah, I still got it to this day.
Emotionally, I think, you know, it did affect a lot of the players, especially Andy, because, as I say, been there for a long time, and you know, you get used to going down to Central Park. You just remember the players that used to play down there, and yeah, certainly sad to be leaving, but you know, we did have the JJB Stadium to look forward to.
Turmoil. The fans were getting dispirited. The spirit in the club was getting a little bit fractured. They'd been beaten by Castleford on their inaugural match at the JJB Stadium. All the signs were there for a bit of a crack-up, and I thought the club needed stability. Andy was coming up to the end of his contract. I knew how much he loved Wigan. It literally took 5 minutes. We sat down in a very tiny office here, and within 5 minutes we'd shaken hands, on a 5-year deal, which hopefully will see him through to his retirement or very close to it.
I've been negotiating with Canterbury for about 3 months before that, so I was very, very close, and I was at the point of I had to make the decision on the night, so I went to see Morris and told him, you know, what was happening, this, that and the other, and decided to stay at Wigan.
Andy it's one of those old cliches, you cut me in half and I'm Wigan through and through. I think when you say that, you can say that about Andy Farrell. He's a Wigan lad, he was born and bred in this area, and he loves this club and he wants the best for this club, and you can see that every time he goes out to play. He leads from the front, he works hard to improve his game, all for the benefit of Wigan Rugby League.
If I was young and single, probably it's a different story, but I've got a family to support, and obviously my mum and dad and Colleen's mum and dad have got grandkids as well, so for them to be to the other side of the world and then miss out on the grandkids' upbringing is not fair, really, so that was a big part of it as well.
If you know Andy and you know his family and you know his wife, you can understand why he is the man he is, and she's one of the things that leads him and guides him, and his children are his life, as is his wife, and he's a family man who works hard and is a talented rugby league player.
You hit it off with people, you've always got friends, and the atmosphere at the club at Wigan is fantastic, and you know, we socialise together, this, that and the other, but you would always have best mates, and Dennis, Terry O'Connor and David Ferner would call us the Cappuccino Gang, because we all drink coffee after training, so that's our gang, and yeah, we're all very good friends, I suppose, because we all got the same interest. Every single one of them are very dedicated to the job, and we always train together and train hard together, and our wives get on so well and socialise together, so yeah, it's just a natural thing for us four.
You meet a lot of acquaintances in rugby league, but you don't walk out of the game with a lot of true friends, but Andrew is one of them.
Well, they'd walk out together in the World Cup of 2000, but on opposing sides. And the two captains, teammates at Wigan, Terry O'Connor and Andy Farrell, just sharing a little joke and a smile. But I'll tell you something, when the referee Tim Mander of Australia blows the whistle in a few minutes' time, there'll be no smiles, there'll be no asides, it will be war.
It is very strange, because obviously Terry's you know, one of my best mates, and to play against him and for him to be captain of his country as well, he was foaming at the mouth. He was that fired up to play against England, and obviously he was proud to captain Ireland, so for me to go out to do the toss with him and shake hands with him, I tried to crack a little joke to him. Obviously he wasn't having none of it, so he was very focused on that game.
I was really psyched up for the big game, and I come out and I seen his face, and that was it, just burst out laughing.
It was a very big disappointment to Terry, because he so much wanted to beat England, but I'm glad we beat them, because I would have never lived it down to this day.
I enjoyed playing against him, because as you say, you do want to test yourself against the best, and he is the best that we've got in England.
We had a strong tournament. We know we had a great game against Ireland, where I know that he enjoyed playing against his mate Terry O'Connor. We played at Twickenham against Australia, and you know, we got beaten 19-2, but you know, we was dominant with Australia that night. You know, we just couldn't score a try, but you know, the World Cup was a great experience, and I'm really glad I had it with him.
Andy Farrell gets his first try of the World Cup tournament. It's all over for the Irish. England are in the semi-final.
The game really has escaped England in the first 40 minutes.
wanted England to go all the way and win it, and we had some decent performances, but obviously for Australia and New Zealand to play in the final was very disappointing for us because we thought it was good enough to get there.
Andy had made one Old Trafford final that year though, as St Helens pipped the Warriors in the 2000 Grand Final. 12 months later it was Bradford's turn, as the Bulls ensured Wigan would leave as losers for a second successive year. But Andy continued to shine for the Warriors, surpassing Frano Bottica's record for points in a season and topping 2,000 points for the club. He could now look forward with confidence to another clash with the Kangaroos.
The moment we've waited a generation for. He's over. Andy Farrell will come back and try again.
The first game, I think, was pure emotion and will to win that we won that game.
The first words come out of, I think it was him and Chris Joint, said it's only one game, we've not won nothing yet. This doesn't mean nothing, this one game, if we don't win the Ashes. And that was his professional attitude of saying, don't get carried away with emotions, just now enjoy it by all means, but we've got a job to do.
When you've had his career and you know what his aspirations and dreams are, for him to have those moments is very, very important, because we all need to get a good pat on the back, and that's a good pat on the back to beat them.
The second test we got flogged, and they was outstanding Australia and we was really poor. But the last game, which was the decider, was to me what international football's all about. It was an exciting game. We'd been together for 3 weeks, 4 weeks with a week away that we had before that, and we started to play like a club side that had been together for a bit. And the rugby that we played in that last game was something special, I thought, and that game could have gone either way, and the Australian lads know that.
No success in the one-off test the following year either, but for Wigan, glory was just around the corner.
First try of the game goes to Brett Dallas. Farrell back to Ferner looking to offload, he does for Lamb. Lamb will get a second Wigan try. Connolly's got Stewart chasing him down, but Connolly will score for Wigan.
I think it showed on my face, the emotion and what it meant to lift that trophy, because as I say, the Wigan club had come under some stick in the years leading up to that Challenge Cup win, so it was a massive trophy for us. I've got the fans to thank first of all for 10 fantastic years, but as I said, the club in general, I couldn't have been at a better club in the world than Wigan Rugby League, and to play there for 10 years, you can't ask for more than that.
I've had a long and distinguished career, and I've seen some many great players, and he would certainly be in the top half a dozen.
I wish you all the very best, mate. You've had an outstanding career, and I hope the final years of your career and your testimony will go very well.
That's hats off again. Congratulations to him.
I'm proud to be associated with Andy and the Wigan club, and you know, I count him as one of my friends, so you know, I just hope that he keeps enjoying his rugby league.
I've enjoyed every minute that I've played with him, and long may we be friends.
Have a great one, mate.
Farrell has kicked them to glory. Wigan are the champions of 1998.
There's no stronger heartbeat at Wigan than that of Andy Farrell. He has been the heart of Wigan for such a long time.
Farewell Central Park, and Wigan say goodbye with a tear and with a victory over St Helens.
We're all very proud of him as a rugby player, but I think we're even more proud of him as a person.
Both his mother and myself are immensely proud of him, and we always have been, even before he played rugby.